So this interview is brought to you by Burn Up Coaching and the 21-Day Challenge. If you're an entrepreneur or high achiever, you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, unexcited about your life, undriven, unpurposeful, and not tapped into your purpose, then the 21-Day Challenge will help you get crystal clear on that life purpose, break it down into bite-sized steps, and over 21 days, you will face head-on the biggest uncomfortabilities, the challenges, the things that have been keeping you blocked, stocked, or stopped, and you'll be able to break through. So that's a 21-day challenge. If you're ready and excited to break through, send me an email, chris@beyourgps.com. Looking forward to talking to you about your 21-day challenge. Next up is the iTunes review of the week, and it's by Joanna Garzili. And Joanna says, high energy and enthusiasm. Chris brings an upbeat vibe that is positively contagious. If you're feeling down or stuck, a few minutes of his show will get you in the necessary headspace to break through any troubles that weigh on you. Thanks so much, Joanna. If you want to give us an iTunes review, go to beyourgps.com/iTunes, and you can give us a review there. Thanks so much for the feedback for that. You can also search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self on iTunes or on Facebook and give us a review like that. Thanks in advance for doing it. Adam Flores is about to come on here in just another minute. Before he comes on, I just want to let you know this dude is a powerhouse. He is one to watch. He's absolutely scaling at such a rapid speed. When I talked to him on the pre-interview call, it just like blew my mind away how fast he's growing, what he's accomplishing, and what he's capable of, as we all are. So really stay tuned in and tapped into this message because it could change your life. One idea has the power to change your life, so make sure you stay through all the way to the end. Grab your pen, grab your paper, be ready to take notes because it's going to bring the heat. Get excited. Adam Flores coming on in just 1 minute. Adam is the best-selling author of the book, The Art of Social Influence. He is the CEO and founder of a creative branding agency called thedreamfactoryco.com. He's built his business beyond $1 million in sales and works with clients from all around the world on how to grow smart and scalable businesses online that can run without them. His greatest passion is to see entrepreneurs aligned in their purpose and maximize their impact. And we are absolutely blessed to have him here with us today. Adam, you ready to rock this, bro?
I'm ready to rock it. Let's do it.
We're doing it, brother. You're now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. Thanks so much for coming on today to share with our wisdom, share your wisdom with our audience, how we can grow into our GPS, man. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, you got it. I've been looking forward to it.
Yes. Let's start diving in, man. The question of the day is always based on the theme. Today's theme is the power of asking. So, Adam, how does this concept, the power of asking, how has that made a difference for you in your life?
So you're referring to asking questions to others or asking questions to ourselves?
Either way, whichever way you want to take it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a big strategist. I'm always, that's what I love to talk about. That's my thing. I love finding the most effective ways to get from point A to point B. So asking is a huge part of that process. And so, when it comes to business, I think one of the questions I had to ask myself to go from a solopreneur where I was working by myself to an entrepreneur is this question. Okay, when I was a solopreneur, it was how do I make a sale? Now as an entrepreneur is how do I get someone else to make that sale? And that mindset completely shifted because I would wake up not looking for a prospect. I would wake up looking for someone else to help me get the message out. Wow. So it shifted my entire activities. When you wake up and you're asking, okay, how am I going to get a new lead today? Versus how can I get someone else to help me generate that lead? It's just a whole different focus in your activities. And so they say that the question mark is the supreme symbol to intelligence, meaning that, as you ask questions, you're able to get, those answers that direct where you spend your time and attention. So the questions are important that we ask ourselves.
That's so amazing, man. I love that. The question mark is the supreme symbol to intelligence. I've never heard that before. That's freaking powerful. And I love as well, it's like I hear leverage. How do we leverage ourselves? Because we weren't designed to go from, a lot of people want the freedom of entrepreneurship. We weren't designed, if that's what we want, to go from 9-to-5 job into a, even worse, like 6-to-6 job, or, like 5 to 8, like working even longer hours because we're like out to build this business and we have to wear all these different hats. That's not what we signed up for in the journey of entrepreneurship and influencing people. In most cases, we want that freedom. We want that time freedom, that money freedom, and being able to impact lots of people.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Awesome. So great response, man, right off the bat. And let's dive into who is Adam Flores. What do you stand for, and what do your clients come to you for, man?
Yeah, absolutely. So, along this process of building out my own online business, I got really frustrated because I started with a message and this idea that I can get it out to the world. And marketers made it seem so simple. Like all you have to do is, share your message, and you can create programs, and you can, be a speaker and all of these things. And so along the way, it was like, oh my gosh, just trying to build my brand alone was a headache. I had to go talk to this developer, and then I had to talk to this designer, and then this photographer. Then the developer would disappear, and then I had to go, and this design would come back, and it didn't match my aesthetic or my feel, my look. And just the simple things that you think just to get up a site was so complicated. And then it came to online programs, and then you're trying to figure out the tech. And so there was so many moving pieces to building out a brand and launching a business that I said, I don't want anyone to have to go through these headaches. So I had a vision to create what they call what is now the Dream Factory. And
such an awesome name.
What it is we wanted to create the place where people can come in with just their idea, just their message, just their vision, and then we'll build out the entire back end of their business. So awesome. We'll build out all the tech for them. We'll build out their sales processes. We'll build out their brand. We'll build out their services and programs and handle all the tech. They just have to come in and focus on their message. And so, that's really what we want to do, is turn ideas into realities and let people stay in their strength zone. So, so that's what we're passionate about, is helping people do that. And we want to be able to continue to help entrepreneurs in that.
So beautiful, man. I love it. And I love how what I said earlier about, leveraging ourselves, like you said, it's stay in your genius. Stop trying to be all things to all people. Stop trying to do everything, and really leverage the talents and the skills of Adam and your team and what you've put together over the Dream Factory. I love it. And I think one of the big challenges is finding someone who you can trust. And then one of the big challenges as well is doing that multiple times for all the different things that we need. So what better way than to connect with one person you trust, like Adam, and find all of that under one roof, so you don't have to keep piecemealing it out and like taking risks on, should I trust this person? Do they know how to communicate with this person? Does that match what I want?
That's so true. And that's why when a lot of people come to us, they're saying, hey, I've already spent money at X company and they didn't do what they said they were going to do. And that's the unfortunate part about people trying to delegate, is they do their best to hand it off, and then it doesn't get done right. So they get gun shy and end up, getting frustrated when it comes to delegating the next thing, So, we got to be able to find the right resources and connections that we can trust. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%, man. So things weren't always this great for you. You weren't always on top of the world, kicking butt with the Dream Factory and all that you're doing for your clients. So let's go back into that journey and talk about those pivotal things when what had you want to be an entrepreneur? What had you want to start your own brand? Like, tell us about some of those challenging moments and how you grew through them.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was little, I was actually taken away from my mom because of financial reasons. She got out of a bad relationship. And I remember going into the living room, my mom was crying her eyes out. And I was like, Mom, what's going on? And she was like, you have to go live with your grandma for a little while until I get back on my feet. So, when I found out, it was, because of financial reasons. So to be stripped from the person who loves you the most, over finances, it broke me as a kid because there was nothing I could do. So I ended up going to live with grandma. There's, 10 of us in this small house. I'm sharing a twin size bed with my brother, and there was a lot of love in the home. I mean, it was a lot of fun being there with all my cousins. But still being disconnected from your mom, it was a hard thing. So I ended up getting moved back with my mom. And from that point to the time I was 18, it was just a financial struggle. Seeing us trying to figure out how to pay bills, how to make ends meet, with her being a single mom, going from different jobs. It was tough. So at 18, I knew I wanted to do something. The only problem is that I was just a barista at Starbucks making frappuccinos behind the counter and a student in college when someone introduced me to direct sales. So I was told that I could make a six-figure income and take care of my mom without a degree, and that whole concept was brilliant to me, that I didn't have to wait to graduate. So I get into that. The only problem is, I had this oversized suit I wore to prom the year before. I had this pencil-thin mustache. It looked like I was 15. I had braces on, and I was just dealing with a lot of rejection. Nobody was listening to me. So I began to, think, man, maybe I'm not that, like, maybe I just can't do this. After 3 years of trying, I had no money to show for it. None of my friends wanted to hang around me, just because I was always working and talking about the business and what I was up to. And so at 21, I was just ready to just throw in the towel and get my degree and go into the corporate world. And my cousin called me and says, Adam, you got to give it one last shot. You got to give it one last shot. And so I got into a health and wellness business, grew that business to over $1 million in sales, made, my first 6 figures, and got a taste of that financial, abundance, at a young age.
That's awesome.
So from that, people started coming to me saying, how did you do it? Because I got into Facebook ads when we were getting like 1-cent clicks. So we were growing fast. So people were saying, how did you do it? How did you do it? And then from that, we began coaching, but I didn't understand coaching or consulting as a business. I didn't understand that realm of work. I ended up going to a conference and they're like, hey, you can get paid for your advice. And I was like, this is kind of crazy. I never thought. So I created my own course. I spent the whole summer making this 50 video course on social media.
Dang.
And then nobody bought it. I mean, I think I $12,000 the whole year, which was, not even worth the time I had.
No.
So then from there, I ended up getting mentorship on this whole space and really understanding how to really do it, position things the right way. And that's where I fell in love with strategy, because I realized there's too many moving parts to figure it out on your own. And so once we did, we were able to scale through a group coaching program. That's what we started with. Then from there, had live events, then came in with done for you services. Now we have retreats, masterminds, and, courses on courses and books and, you name it. So it's amazing. And now 40 sales reps. Wow. So it's crazy.
Dude,
yeah.
That's so rad. So what would you say was the biggest hurdle that you had to overcome in terms of going from, hey, I'm going to do this coaching thing with the group coaching thing. And you're like, hey, I got this group coaching, it's going to work well. And then from that point to now, what was some of the biggest hurdles that you had to overcome?
Yeah, well, I didn't realize how much leverage group coaching was at the time. So I thought, wow, how cool would it be to have a done for you service, right? Which was this idea of the Dream Factory. Right. Well, that ended up taking, done for you services takes a lot of time to get off the ground.
Totally.
And you get stuck inside of it. And so that was probably the most frustrating part, is at that point I realized, oh my gosh, I no longer have leverage. I created a job for myself.
Wow.
And so that was a very hard thing to get stuck in. And I was stuck there for about 2 to 3 years trying to just replace myself in that done for you service, because I was the one in the middle of everything, trying to build everyone's business for them. And so having to learn how to hire and train and get people who are talented and more skilled than you are, and learning to manage and delegate, that was a whole new skill set for me that I had to develop quickly. And it was very painful, because I had lost that scalable factor. I created a job in the middle of my business.
What was the thing that you were asking yourself in those times to help you grow, or looking back now, what would have been one of the most powerful things you could have asked yourself to have shortened that learning curve, and to not have it take 3 years, but maybe a year or 6 months?
Yeah, I think back then, if I knew what I knew now, being in that situation, I would have asked myself, who could I find to do this for me? I think I just didn't have that question yet. My mindset as the solopreneur was, okay, how can I get this done so I can do the next thing?
Right.
How can I get this client work finalized so that I can go on to helping the next client? And so it literally was this repetitive cycle that I was getting stuck in. And so then you can only handle so many clients before you get bottlenecked. And so then you don't have time to go out and market and sell anymore, because you're now working with all of these clients. And so it's this cycle that continues. And so it got to a point where it was very complex at one point to get out, because I have to hand off all my clients to somebody else to take over. Right. And that's the transition. Yeah. So luckily, just really good people have come into our team, and that I really trust that I can do that with. So
That's awesome, man. Awesome. So thanks for that background and the challenges that you overcame, how you overcame it, that question of, who do I know who could really help me out with this, who I can leverage to be able to break through so I can step out of the process and have them, really put themselves in the process. And I see that you asked that question so much that you made an entire business around it.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome, man. It's really cool. So as far as like a smart business, that's really what we're here to talk about today, and scaling that and growing that. Let's get into like the fundamentals of what we need to know to create that smart business and make more than $100,000 per month. Like what is that journey? Where do we start? How do we do that as influencers and entrepreneurs?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, SMART is an acronym.
Mm-hmm.
And so the S stands for scalable. So making sure that the business is structured so that you can handle a ton of new clients without getting bottlenecked, like I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The M is for mission driven, making sure that there's a cause bigger than yourself that your team can get plugged into, where they're emotionally connected to the impact of what you're doing. The A is for automated, being able to leverage technology and tools to have as much leverage as possible. And every business can only have so much automation depending on the nature of that business, but automating as much as possible. So automating the leads, automating the sales, automating, the way you fulfill things as much as you can. R is for revenue streams. And that's, creating multiple streams of income that the business can generate that flow into one another. So that there's what I call a product suite, where maybe you have a book that leads into a course, that leads into an event, that leads into a mastermind, so that there's a sequence of products and revenue streams. And then there's, the T is for team, having it all run by team. And that's the piece where, you're finding talent to replace you, and now you can step out and actually work on the business, and that's having a smart business, right? So that's the acronym, what it stands for. And so just kind of, you want to be able to be intentional about that process. So it's actually really cool. I created this little guide here, and I'm so proud of this guide. I actually keep it on my desk. I don't know if you have any of those things you keep on your wall or around you all the time.
Yep.
But what this does is it shows the different income levels. I don't know if you could see it here, but what a $50,000 person a year does, what a $100,000 person a year does, and then what $1 million plus a year person does. And there's 21 activities to show you, what you would do on a daily basis to be able to make that revenue, right? And so I'm always focused on the activities that are going to compound to lead to that next level. Yeah. So that's, we all only have 24 hours in a day. So if I'm going to work, I want to make sure that I'm doing the most effective activities to grow the business to where my efforts are compounded. Right. And so, we don't wake up thinking about those activities. We need to be able to, have a level of awareness on what those actually look like. And that comes from being around people who are doing it and mentors that are higher than you that do things that you would never even think of, that would probably, that when you hear, you go, yes, I should have been doing that. Why did I think of that?
Wow.
So yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And that thing that you just held up, are we going to have a chance to get that?
Yeah, no, totally. So it's actually free. You can get the download if you just go to adamimobflores.com, and it's just a free guide there. If you want the shortcut, you can go to smartbusinessformula.com as well and get it there. So my personal site or smartbusinessformula.com.
Cool. Just want to make sure I got that in the comments, and then of course we'll have it in the show notes and stuff too. But that's awesome, man. Thanks for giving that to our audience so that we can grow and especially know where we're at. It's like, what type of thinking are we in? I think that's the biggest thing, is when we can compare who are we being today versus the person who we need to become to be able to achieve the results that we want. It's like I did an exercise this morning thinking out 1 year from now, right? Who am I being? How am I showing up? And what's the difference between how that person thinks and who I'm being today? Because that is a huge difference. There's a leverage there to say, wait, so I'm doing this. It's like comparing, apples and oranges. Which do I want to be? I want to be oranges. I want to be, making more progress, whatever that is, more confident, more certain, more committed, whatever that is. So I really love the comparison of where we're at today and then where we can be in, however much amount of time to get to that $1 million revenue or whatever our targets are. So that's really awesome, man.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's powerful. Powerful. So let's start diving in. Scalable. Tell us more about being scalable. What does that really mean, and how can we start putting things in place that make our own business scalable?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think a lot of viewers here are either coaches or consultants
Yep.
or solopreneurs. So, let's look at the realm of, for example, coaching, right? So a lot of times, you're passionate about something, and so you kind of just start working with someone one-on-one, and then they refer you a client, and next thing you know, you have a full schedule of one-on-one meetings, and you only are one person. So
Yeah.
at that point, all you can really do is raise your prices, right? And because you only have so many hours in a day, so you're not scalable. You're limited, or you're capped, right? Bottleneck. So what we want to do is be able to figure out, okay, what can I do to continue to create a process where now I can take in more clients? So now you have a couple of options. One, you're going to put your training method into a manual that has your process that you can now duplicate yourself into another coach where they can now take on your clients. So that's one way to be able to duplicate yourself. The other way is, okay, I want to be able to create maybe a group program for people that may now not, they may not be able to afford me one-on-one anymore, but they can still be a part of a community and still get the result they're looking for. And so now that group, you're able to get on, let's say, every Tuesday night and mentor people from anywhere around the world, as long as they can get on a Zoom, and you're not capped to the amount of people that you can handle, right? And then there's courses. Maybe you create all that content and you put it in a course or a membership site where people are able to receive that content in an automated way. So you have a 3-tier model. You have a one-on-one where people can work with you at a higher level, right, where it'll be worth your time. You have the mid-tier, which is your group program, where you're able to have an interactive live experience. And then you're able to have an online program where it's automated, or a membership site where they can learn from you there. And so now you're no longer limited to the amount of clients you have, because you have the vehicles to be able to put each client in depending the lane they want to go in.
That's awesome. And depending on what price point that they're at too, because not everyone can afford the VIP coaching, the one-on-one,
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they can maybe work with one of your coaches, right? And still get that one-on-one experience. But if they want to get access to you, they're no longer hiring a coach, they're hiring a CEO. And that is different. So quick story, we had a client of ours who was a therapist, and she was teaching a lot of, doing a lot of therapy work. And I said, hey, it sounds to me like you really focus on the area of emotional intelligence. So we created the Emotional Intelligence Society, and we made her the CEO of that society, right? So they were no longer hiring a therapist, they were hiring the CEO of the Emotional Intelligence Society. So now that increases your price bracket just from that positioning, right?
Wow.
So just being able to, figure out, okay, how am I going to position myself to charge more, get more, be able to serve and impact more people by either duplicating my processes or using tech tools to be able to help more people.
Wow. So that scalable also combines automation in it as well. It sounds like that's a big part in being scalable, is like, how do I not have to show up necessarily for every single person at every single moment of their experience with me?
Exactly. And this is where a lot of entrepreneurs go wrong, because now they want a business that's fully automated.
Right.
But the problem with full automation is that you're typically not charging as much because you're losing the human experience.
Right.
You're charging a lot less for that automation because you're not there. So what you have to do to substitute is you have to get a lot of volume and a lot of clients into your programs through automation, so you can really make a lot of revenue. And in the beginning, you may not have that ad budget. You may not have that leverage yet to be able to, or credibility to partner up with other experts to promote your offers. So what I recommend when people start is, start with a high impact service that really creates the highest level of transformation. Get testimonials, get your process down, and be very conscious and aware of the steps you're taking so you can document them, so then you can hand it off to somebody who can replace you. And then you can start going into working on automation and courses, because now you're bringing a reputable, a proven process, and you have some extra cash flow to fund the traffic into those processes.
That's awesome, man. Awesome. In terms of becoming mission driven, I know you mentioned that's a big part of creating these smart businesses. What does it take to really get clear on our mission? Because I think there's a lot of people in the audience who are coaches, and they kind of stumbled into their profession, their expertise, their passion, their purpose, their mission. Some of them are really, really connected, and some of them are saying, well, I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing because, I mean, I had this happen to me, so I'm supposed to focus on it. If that happened to me in the past and I overcame that or something like that. A lot of people are different where they're at, but what would you say about being mission driven as a foundation? How do we do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's different levels to a mission, right? There's the why you're doing it, right? Everyone talks about the why, but I think that there's a deeper level, which is why others need you, right? So it's not why you want to be successful, it's why others need you. Yeah. And so getting clear on your gifts and the impact and what happens when you don't go to work, how other people are stuck in their problems because you don't have your expertise. So being able to tie an emotional connection to the value that you're actually bringing. And then I think there's a deeper level, which is the spiritual aspect of why God wants you to be successful. And so that's the bigger picture of what you're meant to do in the world, right? And so there's the three levels to that mission. You have your own personal mission of why you're doing it. Then there's another mission, why others need you. And then there's that bigger mission of why God wants you to be successful for a bigger cause, right? Yeah. And so within that, for us, I try, and as far as wrapping a team around a mission, we're really emotionally connected to the results of our teams, our clients. So one of the things I'll do is we have a sales team. So when they make a sale, and a client gets a result, I call that affiliate, or one of our coaches will call that affiliate and say, hey, we want to congratulate you for the impact you made in Susie's life, because she was able to launch her business and made 6 figures in her launch. That could have never happened without you. She's on the line crying right now, and she is so grateful that you connected her to our program. Congratulations. So we're constantly creating this culture of that. When we work with our creative teams and our designers and our developers, it's like, hey, when you guys work, you're not just doing the work, but you're doing, like, there's a person behind this, and they're going to see your work, and it's going to evoke an emotion, or it's not. And we want to be the team that evokes that emotion because of the excellence that you're bringing. And so connecting our creatives to the work as well. So every aspect of the team is emotionally connected, and if they're not aligning with that with that mission, and it's not a fit for the team. If that makes sense. So we're all on the same page, and so that's how we cultivate mission and culture within that, which then creates the next level of what there's IQ, which is your emotional intelligence, EQ. I'm sorry, there's EQ, which is your emotional intelligence, IQ, which is your intellectual ability to solve a problem, and then there's LQ, which is your love quotient, which is your ability to love willingly regardless of the circumstance. So no matter how crazy a client may be sometimes, or a prospect may be sometimes, we love regardless. And so creating that culture of love, it's part of our mission, right? So that's kind of that mission piece, is bringing everyone together for a common cause bigger than yourself.
That's awesome, man. I love it. And we had Ian Gray in the audience who said gratitude and acknowledgement. Love it. So I definitely also recommend, Adam, you connect with Ian. He's a really, really powerful dude. He came on the show a couple weeks ago, up to some big things, creating courses and impacting his community. So definitely someone to connect with. But that's super awesome, man. I love the IQ, the EQ, the LQ, love quotient. I've never heard that one before. That's really, really cool, man. So as far as like being tapped into that mission, it's all about, hey, who am I here to be? What's my why? What am I out to create for me? 2, what do the clients need? What is their need? What happens when I show up? What's the impact? How is their life made better off because of me? And I hear that you are actually reinforcing that why with your team by making those calls and celebrating their actions and celebrating their successes to keep them tapped into the why of why our clients need us, So it's like you're reinforcing that. That's super powerful. And then the other thing is like, what happens when we don't show up? What kind of despair are they in? What kind of struggle are they in? Like how are they defeated, and what happens to their dreams and their goals when that continues, when we don't show up to serve them? What's the consequences of us not stepping up to the plate, of us not making that sale, or, being resistant to picking up the phone and dialing, or having the systems in place, or getting the help that we need, asking, powerful ask. If we don't ask powerfully, what's the cost of that? And it's important to get tuned in to that cost, because like if we think that we're causing other people pain by not showing up in our gifts, then that is motivation too. We have both pleasure and pain.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. So, and then the God, like the bigger, the higher power, like what is that? What's that motivation? And really tapping into that. And I was actually curious about that, in terms of the personal value and fulfillment, as well as the client value and fulfillment that we provide. Like, what would you say is the spiritual fulfillment that would differ from those things? Like, what would be the context of that? How would we recognize what is our the value, the why behind why God put us here, why we're here delivering this mission in particular? How would we identify that?
Yeah, so everyone has different backgrounds. So for me, my success is a Bible-based thing. Right. So what I do is at the end of my live events, I say, okay, the event is over. Mm-hmm. And for those of you guys who want to stay, it's optional. Mm-hmm. And I want to be able to share the root of my success, their Bible-based principles. Mm-hmm. And if you want to stay, you can listen to what is the root of my success. That's awesome. Where it comes from. So then I share my message, my story. And then at the end, people get the opportunity to accept Jesus in their heart. So mm-hmm. I get to be able to lead people closer to God through my business, right? Awesome. And so I do that with our sales team. It's okay, sales training is over. For those of you guys who want to stay, I'm going to be teaching Bible-based principles on how to be able to have success in the spiritual realm based off of, this biblical principle. And then they stay, and then I'm able to help them grow in the spiritual realm. Yeah. So, I'm incorporating my own ministry into my business. So I'm not keeping two worlds separate, but they're coming together, and I'm in alignment throughout my business and my mission. That makes sense. Yeah.
And I hear that whatever the spiritual principle is, maybe it's the Bible, maybe it's something else, like as long as we have that integrated into our life actively, and we're devoted to that practice, we're devoted to that spiritual, growth and evolution, and getting more tapped into that, more connected to that, then that's important no matter where people are at, what their philosophy or anything like that. It's important that we are living that. And especially even better, it's like if we're building a conscious business, or, an influencer business, then if we're leading that, then it's important that our organization at least has the opportunity to share those beliefs with us. And if they believe in it, then they can learn more and they can grow more in that. And we make that available because that's a part of us. And the people who most resonate with us in our beliefs, for example, your team, probably a lot of them like are want to be Christians, or are Christians, or, study biblical principles.
This is a funny story. This is a funny story. I never shared this story before. Funny story. I got to share it. Yeah. So I'm on a call with a guy. It's a sales call, mm-hmm. and he's probably about 55, 56 years old, and he's on a Zoom call with me, and he's like, in order for us to work together, I have to align with your values, mm-hmm. and he's like, so what is your background? And I says, well, I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, spiritually, what's your background? I said, yeah. I said, I'm a Christian. He says, okay, great. He's like, now politically, I also need to align with you. So now I'm Hispanic from California. There's like a 99% chance he knows what I believe in, right? Because we're all kind of categorized, right? Sure. In that way. And so I surprised him, and I said, I'm a conservative. Uh-huh. I said, Republican. However, my team is mostly Democrat. And I says, but it doesn't matter because we operate in love, and we all work together regardless. He's like, wow. He's like, I really like that. He says, now I have one challenge for you that I know we're not going to align on. And he says, I'm a Mormon out in Salt Lake City, Utah. Right. And I says, well, great. One of our head coaches is a Mormon from Salt Lake City, Utah. Yes. Yes. So he's like, you're kidding me. Man, this is a perfect alignment. He says, we got to work together. And so I share that story because, when you operate in love, and you have that culture, it doesn't matter, You're going to have people from different backgrounds, different political walks. My team is so dynamic. We have non-believers, we have Mormons, we have, atheists, we have, Democrats, we have Republicans, independents, all across the board. You couldn't categorize us as a team or a culture, but they all know what I believe in. And we all respect each other because I know what they believe in, and it's perfectly okay. We're still on the same mission. At the end, we put our pride aside and we focus on what's in front of us. So I think in a world where so many people are so judgmental on different aspects, we still can remain strong in our beliefs and still be around others who don't share those beliefs and still celebrate each other and come together for a greater purpose. And so I just had to share that story.
That's awesome, man. I love it, Adam. Great story. That's funny. Like, he's like, no way, you're not going to line up with me. Here's another concern of mine. Here's another one. Here's another. Yeah. Oh my God. He handled all of them. This has never happened before.
Yeah, exactly. It was a funny thing.
That's awesome, man. So I love the inclusion. I love the principle of acceptance and, tolerance of other people's viewpoints and perspectives, and, allowing them to be themselves, be self-expressed. Because, in your business, you have to come across so many different types of people and influencers and brands and messages. So for you to judge what is right and what is wrong, that wouldn't work as a business model. So I really love how you come with this inclusive, accepting mindset, and that shows not only in being able to serve all the clients that you serve, but also in your team, it is represented there too. So I really love that you can see it reflected in all dimensions of you, your business, and your clientele.
Yeah,
it's really
Thank
cool.
you. Yeah, and I think being able to keep that culture without losing who you are is the key, right? And so it's not about keeping our own voice silent. It's just about being able to be comfortable with what you believe and still being able to create that culture where everyone feels comfortable in what they believe without that judgment. And that's what I'd like to see more of in this world is more unity, but without losing people's own individuality, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And so that's something I'm curious about. For people who have, let's say, a one-on-one coaching business, there's a lot of room for individuality and talking to people and having it be a unique experience. What do you have in place, or what do you focus on as a company or yourself that keeps people's individual voices and approach and desire to kind of have things be their way and have the company be exactly how they want it to, the vision that they had? How do you keep that vision intact from start to finish through the process of doing things like automating and scaling and making it a sustainable, growth-based business model?
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's the same way. Like, for example, when a doctor is doing surgery, right? It's like he's utilizing his gifts to solve the problem, right? So we're all bringing our own gifts to the table, and we're focused on what we're collaborating on to solve these problems for these entrepreneurs, right? And so at that point, it's no longer about us. It's about what's in front of us, right? And so that's the key, I think, is being able to have an awareness as a team of what we're all bringing to the table, why we're all here, and being able to focus on that mission. Yeah. That's why it's so key, because without that, if you don't have that mission, they can go find a job somewhere else at any time the job gets tough.
Right.
They're not going to maybe have that fulfillment. So when something else comes around that's more fulfilling, they're going to just jump ship, and then you have to keep starting over. And so really finding that team, and you're going to have some bad apples. Unfortunately, you're going to have people tell you what they want you to hear, and you're going to bring them on board, and you're going to see right through them. And that will reveal itself too. And at that point, you got to fire them, or you got to let them go and say, hey, you're not happy here. You need to go to another place that makes you happy. And that's okay too.
Damn. That's awesome. Yeah, that's some huge lessons in being a manager, or being a boss, or being someone who delegates effectively and brings on an effective team. Like, you have to learn some really powerful principles. What would you say are some other things that you look for when it comes to building a team, or really who do we trust in the marketplace to be able to fulfill our own dreams when we're looking for partners, when we're looking for team members, employees? How do we identify the right ones for us?
Yeah. Absolutely. So one of the things that I do is I actually create role descriptions for each role that we need. And I think a lot of people aren't really clear on what they actually need to replace, or what role to fill first. So they end up kind of taking the person they feel like they connect with and mesh with, but that may not always be the person you need.
Right. Right.
So one of the things, I'll give you an exact description. So we have a brand consultant position open in our company right now, right? So one of the descriptions in there is they have to be able to be intuitive, be able to sit in deep thought and draw meaning. They have to have an aesthetic discernment to be able to determine what that client, what looks right, what feels right, so that the brand stays true to the client, right? So I'm describing the unseen attributes that we need, so that when we do that interview, we can do testing to make sure that that person is able to have that intuition to draw out a message, right? Position it to be profitable while still making sure it feels good to the client. So in my beginning years, I didn't understand that. So I would hire people on that were like a great designer and they'd be great at like a skill set, but I didn't understand the unseen attributes, how important those were. So then I would bring on a lot of talent that couldn't capture the client. And so then they're not understanding, well, I don't understand. I did this great design work. Why can't the client, they just don't get it. No, it's like how do you get these colors with that client that doesn't match, when it comes to internet marketing, why would you build a funnel that isn't going to match to what that client is looking for in the business? Yeah, it's too salesy and gimmicky, and their voice is more, more feel like it's more feely, it's more humanistic. The language is different. So being able to have that discernment of what a client needs and be able to sit in that. So being able to put those non-tangible attributes in that role description of the qualities they're going to need to do that role correctly.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, man. I'm curious, when people come on board with you, and let's say it's a new client, and they're more so at the beginning of their journey, figuring out, what's their message and stuff. And I'm just curious, like, what's the overview of that process? Do you guys do like market research? Do you ask them like what's their mission, their purpose? Is there a lot of questions that they go through? Like, what's that kind of onboarding process? Just like an overview of it, what people could expect.
Yeah. So there's 4 stages. The first stage is positioning. Right. So the positioning is, okay, what is that, who is your heart for? Like, what group of people do you feel really connected with? What result do you bring to those people that you feel is different than everybody else, or that at least you feel really strong in that you could bring as a result? And then, where do you feel you have the most credibility in? Who are some other competitors that you look up to, that you aspire to be like? And how can we position you to be different? And then we go into creating what we call IP, which is their own formula, their own process with their knowledge, so that we can brand a concept that will separate them from the rest of the industry. And so what we do is, once we brand that concept, for example, like this SMART business method, right? That's my concept. No one can take that from me. No one has it. It's not on Google. It's not on Yahoo. It's my formula. It's my concept. So we help people develop their concept, and that they can get behind and get, really have posture behind. And so then we'll position it, because we have all the data. We know what people buy because we're constantly launching programs. We'll help position that concept to be highly profitable, while staying true to the client's values and making sure it feels like them at the same time.
Beautiful.
And so that's the positioning piece. Then once we get clear on that messaging, then we move into the second phase, which is the packaging, which is the building it all. So now we're building the sales pages, we're building the funnels, we're building the brand, we're building every aspect that's going to make that concept credible, and where a client can come and say, okay, this is a legitimate service. I see what you offer. And so now it's ready for sale. Once that happens, we go into the third phase, which is promoting, and you're able to then launch that process out to the world. So whether, that's through advertising, whether that's through a campaign, an evergreen campaign, whether that's through building a tribe in a Facebook group or webinars, whether it's building a sales team or getting leads, making sales, that's where all the revenue is generated in that promoting phase, which is the launch. And then the last phase is partnerships, where you're now collaborating with other people to help promote your offers. And so you can really scale and grow.
That's beautiful, man.
It's all on the dreamfactoryco.com. There's our process is listed on that site.
Cool, cool. One of the things I love specifically was about the partnerships. I'm curious, what does it really take to make successful partnerships in people who are going to be a joint venture partner or something like that? What have you found really works to have people want to represent your product or service?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what's really cool is like, so I had a live event. Here's an example. So you have your own workshop or own live event. I think that's probably one of the easiest ways to get the mentors you look up to contribute, right? Yeah. Because they understand what a live event takes, mm-hmm. right? So I'll give you an example. Jasmine Star was on my stage last year at my last year's event. A lot of people know Jasmine. She's great.
Yeah, she's a rock star.
Yeah, and so she was able to promote our event through her social media and Facebook. They did a vlog about it, and gave away tickets because there was value for her in it, right? She's going to get in front of hundreds of entrepreneurs. Why would she not want to promote that for her brand as well? Right. So creating win-win opportunities and, being able to, that's one way. The other way is when you have a live event, being able to say, hey, I would love to have you, partner up with you. Would you be willing to share this with your audience? And we'll give you 50% of the tickets. And if they buy something, it's all tracked. Mm-hmm. So the key is you got to have the tracking systems in place, which took me a little while to figure out, because in order for someone to pick up your offer, they want to make revenue from that. For sure, that's the baseline. They want to profit share in it. And then second, if there's a win in it for them, they're going to love that even more. Yeah. So being able to identify who has the lists that are engaged, who has an interest, who would align with what you're offering, who can contribute to what you're offering and also win out of it. So just taking yourself out of the picture and putting yourself in their shoes and saying, hey, would this make sense for them to offer to their list? And be able to create those scenarios.
That's beautiful, man. Beautiful. Adam, we're flying through this interview, man. We're coming towards the end. We want to know, what is the final takeaway, the final thing our audience just has to implement, has to take on, has to focus on because of this interview and because of their time invested here with us today? What would you say that thing is, you're so passionate about them getting and understanding and living and embodying in their business and in their career, in their life?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the number one thing is being able to have a team behind them to do all the stuff they should not be doing. So right now, all the listeners, whether they're listening on a podcast, whether they're listening on Facebook or Instagram, they all have a message and they all have something they want to get out to the world. And there's these things that drive them nuts, like sitting in front of a computer and trying to write an email, or sitting in front of a computer and trying to build a funnel, or trying to build a site, or trying to write that next social post. There's things that drive them nuts, and they need to be able to outsource that as quickly as possible to the people who love doing that and focus on their message. And so at the beginning, you don't have that option. It's just you. You're all by yourself. So that's the part where it's not very fun. You got to do what is necessary, which is very painful at first, and until you can take that revenue, reinvest back into the people that are going to help you get to where you need to be.
Beautiful, man. Couldn't have said it better myself. Adam, people are loving this interview. They want to know, how do they stay connected with you? How do they take the next step? How do they have a conversation with you about the Dream Factory and seeing if it's a good fit for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can connect with me on IG. So it's just at adamimoflores.com. If you want to be able to learn more about the Dream Factory, you can just go ahead and go to dreamfactoryco.com and you can go ahead and apply. We just basically, have a conversation about your brand and see if there's something we can do to help you with it. And then if you want to get access to the Smart Business Formula, you can go to the smartbusinessformula.com and learn how to scale your business past 100K. In that, you'll find the 21 activities to grow your business past 100K a month.
Beautiful. Man, Adam, you are on fire, brother. Thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your passion, your purpose, your mission with our audience here, and just living it, man. You're on fire.
You got it. Thanks so much for having me and just asking some awesome questions. And I really, it's been an honor and joy to be on.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Look forward to seeing you soon, okay?
You got it. Thanks a lot.
Take care.